Hey, everybody. Welcome to another special edition of the Sports Rush. I am Brett Rump. Glad to have you with us. Thought I wasn't going to be doing any kind of special show tonight, but I decided it was worth it because of last night's Fever win in Game 2 of their best of 3 series. It was exactly as I told you it would be, that the Dream would probably have the advantage in Game 1. Fever then, as they have all year, backs against the wall, a resilient bunch that comes out fighting, and they find a way to win game 2. Not only win, but dominate game 2. And it sets up a game 3 with the pressure back on Atlanta, playing at home, the favorite. I mean, you're supposed to beat this Indiana team that doesn't have their best player, Caitlin Clark, doesn't have Sophie Cunningham, doesn't have Ari McDonald, Sydney Colson. I mean, the list goes on and on. And so Atlanta's supposed to win this series, and now they've got to win a deciding game 3 at home to advance into the semifinals. And I think the Fever have a real chance here. I think they gained a lot of confidence in the way they played against Atlanta. I think they've got Atlanta second-guessing themselves. I feel pretty good about what happened last night at Gainbridge Fieldhouse when the Fever dominated the Atlanta Dream 77-60. They held the Dream without a single point for over an 8-minute stretch, extending in the third quarter into the fourth quarter. And in fact, if you look at the quarter-by-quarter scores of that game last night, the first quarter, it was 20-14. Second quarter was 15-15. Third quarter was 24-15. So the Dream did not have more than 15 points in any of the first 3 quarters and only beat that by a single point in the fourth quarter, scoring 16 points. So the Fever were consistent defensively. They used a lot of players. They had balanced minutes. They're in good shape heading to a game 3 tomorrow night down in Atlanta. The Fever were led by Kelsey Mitchell with 19. You had Aaliyah Boston with 15, but Mitchell didn't play 30 minutes, 29 total minutes. And in fact, no player on the Fever played 30 minutes or more. So they should be pretty comfortable. I mean, it's an aggressive series playing every other day over a 5-day stretch, 3 games in 5 days. But you've got Natasha Howard played 28 minutes, Aaliyah Boston just 22, and Odyssey Sims played 27, Lexi Hull 23. And I'll tell you what was the key to Aaliyah Boston only having to play 22 minutes was the bigs off the bench. Brianna Turner, she was terrific in her role coming off the bench. That's the best we have seen her. She rarely got on the floor when the Fever were healthy. But because of Dantas's concussion and not being cleared through protocol, it was Turner that had to play key minutes last night, and she ended up in 20 minutes scoring 4 points, 6 rebounds, did a steady job defensively. And Michaela Timpson, the rookie, 9 minutes, 3 for 3 from the field, scored 9 points. She was terrific as well. Petty with 23 minutes, Powers with 17. So you ended up with a lot of balance out of the top 8 players. Nobody got overexerted, so everybody should be ready to go. But just a great performance. And what about that flurry at the end of the third quarter? That was the dagger. Atlanta was hoping they could hang around, they could stay within striking range, and maybe make a run in the fourth quarter. And the Fever quickly put an end to that when they score a bucket, then intercept the inbound pass after it was deflected, and it sets up Lexi Hull for what I would say is the dagger. Now, you've heard me talk before that there's always certain shots in a game. And even though games aren't always decided at the end, sometimes they're decided early on. But I've always talked about certain shots are the dagger. They're the ones where you're capping off momentum or you're putting an exclamation point on a run. or you make a heroic play on the defensive end, and now you want to make the other team pay. And so you come down and get a transition bucket or you take a quick shot. A lot of times, those are the daggers. Those are the ones that seem to count for a lot more than what they actually put up on the scoreboard. Lexi Hull might as well hit that shot for 10 points, not just 3. Because you could tell in the body language of Atlanta, they knew after that shot, their night was done. And so the Fever advanced. What a great game. Just a fun game to watch, a fun game to be just a spectator and a fan. And I do want to shout out John Nolan. The Fever showed quite a few of his highlights of some of the big plays and big calls. They had just the audio attached to the video of certain plays. And then they also had a camera on John calling some of the big plays. I tell you what, he landed in something good down there. Big congrats to him. I mean, he paid his dues. He was here in Fort Wayne for a long time. And I believe he's going to be back this winter with Mastodons basketball. But I know the plans from last I heard is that he will be calling some boom basketball down in Noblesville. Of course, that's the former Mad Ants squad. But I think he's going to also make some Mastodons games. I know this. He is going to be filling in for me on a week-long trip in January that takes the Mastodons to Youngstown State and Robert Morris. And he'll be bringing you Mastodons basketball on the radio. But yeah, he was fantastic, rare form. And he's going to, I'm sure, be even better in a deciding game in the playoffs. You know, the one thing as a play-by-play broadcaster is you get to build off the energy of the total broadcast, which includes the crowd excitement. And, you know, you can't go over the top if the crowd is subdued. So if you have an energized crowd as a play-by-play broadcaster, it opens up your full range, where if you've got the emotions, you can show them. You can play right along with the fans. You can get excited when they get excited. You can feel it with the energy on the broadcast. John did a terrific job of matching the energy of the building with the energy of the broadcast and the call. Outstanding work last night by John Nolan. So the Indianapolis Colts began practice today, getting prepped for a trip to Tennessee this weekend. Of course, right now, it's amazing what a turnaround you've already gotten in 2 weeks from the national media, where you watch some of the talking heads or you hear some of the analysts talking about the Indianapolis Colts. All of a sudden, they've got them as a playoff team. They've got them as the potential winner of the AFC South. I still think it's kind of early because I still think the Colts have a legitimate chance to be 5-3 or 6-2 after 8 weeks, but I don't see them being a team that ends up, 8-0 through 8 weeks of the season. But a lot of the national analysts, they are buying whatever it is the Colts are selling, and the Colts have looked really good offensively and defensively. They've been solid on both sides. They were able to beat a Denver team who bragged about having one of the best defenses in the NFL, and the Colts just shredded them with an efficient offense led by Daniel Jones. And then defensively, they had to overcome some key losses. And Latu was out. That takes away one of the edge rushers. You had Charvarius Ward. He was out. And that takes away one of the key cover guys as a cornerback. And they still did the job defensively, did the job well enough to win. And that's all that really matters. But a concern, Tyler Warren missed practice today, and it was listed as a toe. Now, I don't know, sometimes as the season progresses, guys get Wednesday off as just an extra rest day to make sure they're 100% come game time. I'm hoping that's what this is, but a little concerning to see him on the injury report because Tyler Warren I mean, you look at that receiving core right now with Warren, Downs, Pittman, and Alec Pierce, who's playing as well as he has played as an Indianapolis Colt. And you combine that with A.D. Mitchell. And Mitchell has been what the Colts expected when they drafted him. He's a guy that's a big vertical threat, but he's also making some really nice sideline catches, toe taps, keeping his feet in, keeping the ball from dropping, which is one of the concerns with A.D. Mitchell. There was a time during the preseason where there were Colts fans wanting the Colts to maybe get rid of A.D. Mitchell, but he has been an important piece to the Colts offense. And then you add to this receiving core the threat of Jonathan Taylor as a pass catcher. And that is not something we ever expected to see in this Colts offense, was Jonathan Taylor out of the backfield making catches. And I don't know where that decision has come from. I find it very interesting whether or not Lou Anarumo might have planted that seed with Shane Steichen, because something changed between last year and this year, or the year before, where every time the Colts wanted to pass, they would bring a running back in. I know Goodson had the injury last week. That might have impacted it. But I'll tell you what, Jonathan Taylor is a huge threat if you can put him in the passing game out of the backfield. And he looked very comfortable going and catching balls. I loved it. And I hope the Colts continue with it, regardless of who's healthy. And they don't, because in some ways, too, you tip your hand when you start making personnel changes based on the likelihood of it being a pass or a run. And I think too many times over the last couple of years, the Colts gave away stuff offensively and defensively. Offensively with some of their formations, and defensively with their looks at the line of scrimmage. Offensively, we're already seeing a lot of confusion. They're moving Tyler Warren around. They're using a lot of different formations. Those are things I think that are highly effective, and the Colts are starting to incorporate that more. The other thing is maybe because you have a cerebral quarterback, somebody who can actually think the game and understands the positioning and knows the playbook really deep. Maybe that's allowed the Colts to go a little deeper in the playbook and use some of those trick formations or varying formations where they use different guys in motion and they'll stack one side of the line with trip receivers. I mean, different things that they have done that you didn't see a ton of in the last couple of years. Hey, big congrats, by the way. I want to make sure to get this in. Sidney Freeman, former Mastodon, played with the Mastodons last year, started her college career. She was at Ball State, then at Dayton, and eventually ended up with Purdue Fort Wayne for a year after having a child. Well, a big congrats to Sidney Freeman, former Central Noble star, on signing a professional contract for over in Europe. She'll be in the Czech Republic playing basketball this coming winter. So a big congrats to her. In fact, I think she takes off here within the next few days to head over and start playing over there in Europe. But that's just outstanding to see. A girl who thought maybe when she got pregnant, became a mom, a single mom, that it was going to be over for her basketball career. But she's found a way to balance her career and motherhood. Couldn't be happier for her. So a big congrats to Sidney Freeman. Love to have her on the show, by the way. Also, wanted to mention this real quick. Clay Travis is coming to Fort Wayne. I don't know if you knew about this, but one of the Federated Media properties, WoWo Radio, has Clay Travis on with Buck Sexton every afternoon, and they do a show from 12 to 3, the Clay and Buck Show. And Clay Travis, of course, probably better known for all of his sports ventures, including Outkick and including being the former morning host on Fox Sports Radio. Well, Clay Travis is coming to Fort Wayne in October 22nd. It is a Wednesday, He's bringing the Clay and Buck Show to the brand new WoWo Studios out at the Village of Coventry. And it's all part of WoWo's 100th anniversary celebration. But you can get up close and personal with Clay Travis, and there's tickets available. You can go to wowo.com to get more information on that. But I understand they even reduced ticket prices last week. So get a reduced ticket and hang out with Clay Travis here in Fort Wayne on October 22nd. The show will be broadcast from WoWo nationwide. It's a national show, and it will be broadcast throughout the entire country. He'll fly in. He'll do the show from 12 to 3, and then he'll hang out with fans on an intimate basis. I think 100 or 125 people will be somewhere in that vicinity. We'll be hanging out with Clay Travis at our studios, and you can be invited. You just have to buy a ticket. So check that out. Clay Travis coming to Fort Wayne. Coming up tomorrow, it is our high school football picks of the week. Can you believe this? This is week 5. Now, you know there's only 9 weeks in a high school football season, which means we are halfway through the season. How crazy is that? We're halfway through the high school football season. I feel like it's just getting started. And we're going to be at the biggest game of the night. East Noble hosting Leo up in Kendallville. And after the game, be sure to join me for the Kester's post-game show live from Pizza Hut at Kendallville. That's where we'll be on Friday night with the show. And then Adam Lundy will be in the brand new Coventry studios. They call it the Mic, but be at the Coventry studios to bring you the scores on the H&K Chevrolet of New Haven high school football scoreboard. But we'll have Friday night covered halfway through the high school football season. Hard to believe. But tomorrow, 4:30, you're going to get the high school football picks of the week. So enjoy that. All right, I'm done for tonight. Hope you have a great Wednesday night, a great hump night. And don't forget, in a couple of days, high school football on 1380 The Fan and 100.9 FM, presented by Midwest Box Breaks. Leave your comments. Make sure you subscribe. Share the channel. Give us those thumbs up. We appreciate all of it. Have a great night.